Now, in terms of where we stand at the moment, the legality of nuclear weapons and their use has not really been tested. There was an important ruling in '96, but we've seen the courts internationally setting limits to the use, but not prohibiting their use.
Exactly. And this is part of that strategy, because again, I come back to the point that the strategy is to delegitimize the possession and use of nuclear weapons.
Canada wants to be known as being peacemakers, that it is a responsibility for them to sign this treaty and to not just be passive on everything that's happening.
I think we tend to sort of bury the nuclear issue. I think we've learned to internalize fears about other kinds of threats and risks in the last 20 years, whether it's homegrown terrorism or, terrorism in general, or, the kind of cascading effects of these long wars that we're fighting.
Proliferation is occurring on several different fronts, because not only do increasing number of countries trying to get a hold of nuclear weapons, but also the technology is becoming more accessible.
At this point, it's the consequences are known. We know the repercussions of everything.
Knowing that people who have very sort of fervent aims and belief can use those kinds of, capacities and weapons it's troubling. But it's no more or less troubling than knowing that states have them too, and, that they stockpile them and have them in ways that are disproportionate and asymmetric. I mean, that's equally terrifying to me.
The mentality is, if other people have it, we should have it too. But I think that's kind of like saying an eye for an eye, and that's not good.
You're arming people and you're having that leverage on them like that, and it's not ethical, I don't think.
We always feel like we're not a part of that world.
Even though we're not having any on our soil, we still have our hands in it, because we're being able to supply the materials to actually create the nuclear weapons.
Historically, has always pushed the side of less armament rather than more armament. And the fact that Canada obliged, both in terms of negotiations and in terms of the signing, with the U.S. request that it not do so, is of great concern. And I think we need to push our government very strongly, as strongly as we can, to sign on to the TPNW and show some independence and show some leadership in that respect.
If it's not a part of our daily conversation, it's not a part of the narrative that we're being told, and it is in fact here and it is in fact in use, then that is a problem for us. But I think we feel a lot more distant from it just because of our everyday dialogue doesn't include it in it. So it's easier to detach yourselves from it than to talk about it.
The Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons is a critical piece, a critical treaty, and everyone should sign it. I think that would reduce the risk, it would reduce the proliferation, it would create the cooperation of countries that are currently not cooperating with each other.
It's not enough to just say that we're against nuclear weapons. They actually have to take action to actually prohibit them, so I think it would be a good idea for them to sign it.
Canada is known as being, like a peacekeeper and not participating in other conflicts, so of course Canada should say no and should sign for the treaty.
Given that nuclear weapons sort of have the capacity to destroy whole swaths of the earth and, I guess, spew radioactive chemical fallout in a way that sort of, is significant, the world would probably be objectively safer without them. It's
something that is generational, and it's larger than just an individual event, because it can last for so long.
Whether nuclear weapons will ever be abolished. But it's maybe also the wrong question. The bigger question is, have we done everything we can to abolish them? If it comes to a point someday where my grandchildren ask, what did you do to stop this? I want to be able to say, I did everything I can. If they're living in a world that's blown up, it's blown up as a result of nuclear weapons, and I'd say, Granddad, what did you do? And I want to be able to say that I did my part to stop the destruction of the planet.